Live from Arkansas's breaking news leader, Fox 16 News at 5:30 starts now.
An action-packed evening unfolding throughout central Arkansas. We are following breaking news on several fronts all across the state. Multiple shooting investigations in Little Rock. An active search for two missing western Arkansas children whose mother was found dead. And the last of 4 scheduled executions, which is set to happen about 90 minutes from now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm Kevin Kelly. We have live reports on all these stories across the area. We begin with a pair of shooting investigations in Little Rock. One at 23rd and Marshall, the other at an in-home daycare on Park Lane where one person was killed. We have crews at both scenes. We begin with Fox 16's Josh Berry at that daycare on Park Lane. Josh, quite an afternoon there, no doubt.
And it has been, Kevin, and it's of the shootings that we have reported on here in Little Rock, this is probably one of the most emotional because we were here as parents were pulling up and walking up just on this side of the crime tape, trying to find their children as police were walking the children out of that home right there where we're told this all happened. And it was a drive-by that the daycare, we're told, was not the intended target. Officers tell me that shell casings were scattered around the street and in a home a couple of houses down that we're told that this drive-by targeted. Right now you can see that there are crime scene investigators in the street still working and standing around some of the evidence markers they laid down, upwards of 24. The shots were fired around 2:50 and say a silver car was seen speeding away. Once police had the scene blocked off, we watched as emergency crews took the victim away, actively trying to keep her alive. A short time later, we were notified that the caregiver, a 57-year-old woman, who we're told is Shirley Jackson, that police just released that name to me just a few minutes ago. We're told that the next of kin has been identified. While we were here, police were still escorting young children from the home. We're told that there were 9 in total at the home when this happened, but that none of them were hurt. Parents got here frantically hoping to embrace their children, but we were also here when they found out the caregiver had passed away.
Just praying for her and her
family. What's it mean to hold your son right now?
Man, everything to me, man.
I was there when they gave him to you, and you got emotional. I'm a 3-year-old, so I understand.
My son's my whole life, man. She died?
Yeah. Oh my God, no, man!
A very real scene unfolding while we were here this afternoon. We have been told that a second person was shot as a result of this drive-by, but that person, we're told, should be okay. Again, very limited suspect information released to us. All we've been told, and as of a few minutes ago, was that a silver car was seen speeding away from this scene. Now, virtually at the same time, just a bit away at the corner of 24th and Marshall, there was a second shooting that happened here in Little Rock that police are investigating. Fox 16's Caitlin Reardon is live there now with the latest. Caitlin, what can you tell us?
Well, Josh, yes, that's right. 24th and Marshall, you can see it's still police taped off. Investigators still on the scene canvassing. Now, they have picked up several of the markers they had out with all the shell casings. What we know right now is it happened around 2:30. Police say it was a drive-by shooting, but the suspect vehicle different than the one over there. This one was a minivan, started shooting at one of the houses in the area here. We know there was one victim, a 21-year-old man was hit in the back or the shoulder. He did go to the hospital with injuries that were not life-threatening. Now, multiple guns used in this one, different calibers. We're not sure yet at this point if those shootings are connected, the one on Park and this one. And of course, we're not sure if it's random, but the person shot does not live at the house, we're told by police. Now, so far, we know they've made no arrests, and they are asking people in the area, if you have any information, give them a call. They need help trying to catch the people involved in these drive-by shootings. Reporting in Little Rock at 24th and Marshall, I'm Caitlin Reardon, Fox 16 News.
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. Obviously, a very difficult situation unfolding with both of those stories. We'll be following that very closely. We're also following another developing story. You're looking at it right now. In about a half an hour, the state's 4th lethal injection in the span of a week is expected to get underway. We have team coverage of tonight's planned execution of Kenneth Williams. Fox 16's Jesse Tenor joining me live at the Cummins unit where it will all take place in Lincoln County. Jesse.
Hey, Kevin, as ADC staff continues to prepare for Kenneth Williams' scheduled execution tonight at 7 p.m., he is in a holding cell just right down the hallway from the death chamber, maybe thinking a little bit about why he's there to begin with. 17 years ago, Williams was put on death row for the killing of Cecil Boren. Williams escaped from prison from the Cummins unit in 1999 and just traveled about 4 miles down to Boren's family farm, where he shot him multiple times. And now we are able to, all of these years later, I was able to go to his clemency hearing, Williams' clemency hearing back in March, and he was saying that during these 18 years that the family has gone without a loved one, that he is not the same person as the one who pulled that trigger. He now calls himself Minister Kenneth Williams. He actually runs a Facebook page of that name where he's been posting a lot of updates up to this very moment. He did even go into his last words, and he was saying that he imagines during that time, right before his lethal injection, he would again apologize to his victims' families, and he would also continue to speak to God. He said that he would speak in a biblical tongue of sorts, and so we'll be able to bring you more information on that later tonight. But I want to pitch out to Marcy Manley back in Little Rock. Marcy, you've been following all of the legal developments since all of these executions started. It doesn't look like right now that there's any major legal hurdles standing in the way of Williams' execution, but what do you know right now?
Well, what we do know right now is that the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals has cleared 3 legal challenges, and that Kenneth Williams has had every motion and request for stay of execution denied. Now everything has to head for a higher court, but we also can't rule out additional filings. Yesterday, the Arkansas Supreme Court denied 2 of his requests for a stay of execution. The court also denied another 2 for an emergency stay. Today, the federal 8th Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed all 3 stay requests within the past hour. In these filings, he's alleged intellectual disability, physical impairments that could cause problems with the drug protocols such as sickle cell, and juror misconduct in his death penalty criminal trial. Elsewhere, Fox 16's Drew Petrimo following the activity on the case in Washington, D.C. Drew, in the past 3 days of executions, the Supreme Court has declined to intervene.
Yeah, that's right. And in this case, he has filed a motion for stay with the United States Supreme Court. But as you said, we've seen this before. In the last 3 executions, the Supreme Court has basically gone along with what lower courts have said. In the first 2 executions that were stayed, the Arkansas Supreme Court had issued that stay. The United States Supreme Court declined to reverse it. In the ones that followed, there was no stay in place, and the Supreme Court declined to put one in place. So that seems to be the trajectory that they've been going, and if that holds true, the execution tonight will go forward. But of course, that is something we have to wait and see what happens. Important to note here is that there needs to be 5 justices to vote in favor of a stay for there to be one issue. There only needs to be 4 that would decide to take up a case. So there could be a case, and we've seen this before, where there is some inclination that the court would like to take a further look at an issue, but because they don't have those 5 votes in place, the execution still can go forward. That's the latest here in Washington. I'm Drew Petrimo. Let's go back to Jesse.
Drew, thanks. And as we await those legal challenges, we want to take another look back at some more of Williams' victims, what landed him here in the first place. It's almost been 2 decades since he murdered a UAPB cheerleader, Nikki Hurd. We were able to talk to her mom, and Nikki Hurd was just 19 years old, a student at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff when she was murdered. And her mom, Vicki Williams, remembers her only biological daughter as someone who was just full of life. Nikki was studying to be a doctor at the university when she and a friend were kidnapped, robbed, and shot by Williams. Her mother says she does forgive Williams, but she wonders if other tragedies could have been avoided if Williams had been sentenced to death in the first place for killing her daughter.
Kind of felt like if they would have given him that at first, maybe could have saved some more lives.
While Nikki's family does not plan to be here at Cummins tonight for Williams' execution, Boren's wife does. She says that she wants the closest she can to a front seat to watch her family finally get justice after 18 years. Kevin, we'll take it back to you.
All right, Jesse, thank you very much. Of course, we'll continue to monitor that. Our coverage continues, especially as we follow these legal battles that still exist. Be sure to join us on our Fox 16 Facebook page starting at 6:30 for live reports from the Cummins unit and in Little Rock. We'll have that for you, plus the latest information tonight on Fox 16 News at 9 on our website and, of course, on Fox16.com. We are following more breaking news tonight. We'll bring you the latest from Western Arkansas, where 2 children are missing and their mother has been found dead. What investigators know after this.
You're watching Fox 16 News at 5:30, covering Benton, Cabot, Little Rock, and all of Central Arkansas.
We are following other breaking news. This one coming out of Western Arkansas. A body found in Polk County, and reports of 2 kids missing prompted the sheriff's office to begin a homicide investigation. 10-year-old Riley Scarborough and 2-year-old Aislinn Wester were reported missing on Wednesday. Their mother's body was found on Tuesday and positively identified today. Fox 16's Jonathan Rozelle in Polk County today. He joins us on the phone with more on this investigation. Jonathan, what have you been able to find out?
Having a lot going on here. Authorities say 43-year-old Bethany Wester was discovered dead in Buffalo Creek, an area just outside of Cove. Now, investigators say she is the mother of missing 10-year-old Riley Scarborough and 2-year-old Aislinn Wester. Both have not been seen or heard from since Saturday. The sheriff says several agencies are involved in helping search for the missing kids to help bring them back home and to concerned loved ones.
Imagine what they're going through. That's why we're working so hard, because I have children. Mr. Morris has children. All of my guys have children. All of his guys have children. This is a parent's worst nightmare, a grandparent's worst nightmare, an aunt and uncle's worst nightmare.
And authorities are not saying whether they have developed a suspect in the mother's death or the whereabouts of her kids. They ask anyone who knows anything about either or incident to contact authorities. And also developing late this afternoon, Polk County Sheriff deputies say a man was found dead inside a home earlier today. Now, authorities were called to the house located just outside the Queen off Highway 71 around 1 p.m. Now, deputies say they are investigating the death as a homicide, but would not go into details. They're not saying if this death is related to that of Bethany Wester, who again was found dead in a creek near Cove, or her 2 missing children. We'll bring you more as these investigations develop. We're now live in Mena. Jonathan Rozelle, Fox 16 News.
All right, Jonathan, thanks for the update. We'll bring you the latest on this investigation at 9. You can also find any up-to-the-minute developments on our website, Fox16.com. Turning now to a breaking news update, we're learning more about a deadly shooting at a Little Rock apartment complex from last night. 2 people were shot at Midtown Park Apartments at around 5 Wednesday afternoon. Investigators have identified the person killed as a 17-year-old. Now, another 17-year-old was shot, but that person survived. Their names are not being released because they're juveniles, and police tell us that an 18-year-old who lives in that building says he exchanged gunfire with the 2 after they tried to rob him. He's been released without charges. Police are not looking for any other suspects.
Now, weather to plan your day with Fox 16 Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin.
A very busy forecast ahead as we go into the weekend. We're talking about a heavy rain threat and also the threat for some strong to severe storms, but at least nothing to worry about for tonight. Really, the active weather begins tomorrow night, mainly after dark, going all the way through Sunday. We're talking about the threat for some heavy rain, possibly even some flooding in some spots, as well as the potential for some strong storms. Now, this evening, if you're heading out the door, nothing to worry about. Actually, kind of pleasant out there. Mid-60s by 8 o'clock, down to the 50s by later on tonight. Not as chilly as it was last night. Now, because of the potential for some heavy rainfall over the weekend, a flash flood watch is in effect beginning tomorrow evening, going into Sunday for central and northern Arkansas. We're talking about enough rain that we're talking about small stream flooding, some road flooding possible in some spots, and it looks like the most serious potential for flooding across parts of northwest and north central Arkansas. Satellite and radar, mainly dry conditions right now across the state. The system that brought the storms yesterday moved well to our east, and now another storm system coming out of the Rockies beginning to move into the plains, with some showers already breaking out across the high plain states. Mainly dry, mild air across much of the southeast right now, but we have a front near the Gulf Coast, and as this system approaches, that front's going to return northward and bring some very very moist Gulf air, and that's going to set the stage for that heavy rainfall with that slow-moving front. Right now, temperatures across the state mainly in the 60s. 68 around Clinton, 68 in Batesville, 68 in Little Rock, and low 70s farther south. Right now, our Magic Springs camera and Hot Springs showing mostly blue skies out there. It looks pretty nice. Same in Little Rock, blue sky, 68 degrees. Winds out of the southeast at 7 miles per hour. I wish I could tell you it was going to look like that this weekend, but it's not. Taking a look at our forecast satellite and radar, going through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, clear to partly cloudy skies, increasing clouds as we go into the daytime hours as our warm front lifts on northward, bringing that warm, humid air back to the north. Showers and some thunderstorms begin to develop along that front, especially as we go towards the late evening hours across central Arkansas and moving into northern Arkansas as we get towards the overnight hours, with showers and thunderstorms continuing as we go into Friday night, Saturday morning north, and an increasing risk of storms Saturday, especially Saturday evening and Saturday night as a strong storm system moves on through, with the storms pushing east for Sunday. Main severe threat for tomorrow night, mainly along and north of I-40. Large hail, the main threat here, and isolated tornado risk as well. And as we go into Saturday, as our strong storm system moves on through with our cold front, again, some strong to severe thunderstorms likely, including much of central Arkansas. So pay close attention to the weather as we head into this weekend. So for tomorrow, mostly clear, not as cool for the morning hours. Most of the daytime tomorrow is going to be just fine. Be a little bit warmer out there despite more cloud cover. Temperatures in the upper 70s. Storms begin to develop mainly after sunset for tomorrow across central and northern Arkansas. Heavy rain and storms on Saturday. Rain most likely on Sunday. Breezy and turning cooler, only in the 60s for highs on Sunday. Clearing out for early next week. Another shot of showers for the middle of next week. Kevin?
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Tonight, the Memphis Grizzlies will look to force a decisive Game 7 in their first-round playoff series against the San Antonio Spurs. Our Ben Creighton live in the River City with a preview of tonight's game. Lucky him. Next in Sudden Death Sports.
Fox 16 Sudden Death Sports with Sportscaster of the Year, Wes Moore.
A do-or-die situation tonight in Memphis as the Grizzlies look to take down the Spurs in Game 6. Fox 16's Ben Creighton is live outside the FedEx Forum with a preview. Ben, tonight the Grizzlies got to win. It's, win or go home.
Yeah, Wes, the Grizzlies on the brink of elimination tonight, trailing 3-2 heading into Game 6. Now, when we talk about, teams playing in big playoff games like this, what do we always hear? Teams treating every single playoff game like a normal game. However, that's not the case to head coach David Fizdale, who has been in this situation before when he was assistant at Miami. A perfect example is the 2013 NBA Finals when the Heat trailed, coincidentally, the San Antonio Spurs 3-2. The Heat went on to win the NBA title. Now, as a first-year head coach, he and his players know exactly what is at stake tonight. A loss means the end of their season, and he says the team has to play with some desperation and has to think ahead to Game 7.
I think once you get here, the urgency to win every single game is completely heightened. And, my message to them is we got to get to Game 7. Nothing better in sports than Game 7. And so that's a privilege to get to there, and you have to earn that. And so we're here at home, and we're going to give ourselves a chance. They're trying to put us out of our misery. If you don't know anything about them, they're killers. So we understand that, but we also have to come out with a mentality to impose our will on the game.
And what's a big key for tonight's Game 6 will be bench production. The Spurs outscored the Grizzlies bench 46-30 back in their Game 5 win. So the Grizzlies are definitely going to have to pick it up from their supporting cast. They can't rely on just Mike Conley and Marc Gasol if they want to survive another couple days. And also making a little bit of an Arkansas connection, the media will be allowed into the locker room in a little over an hour from now. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to Mike Conley, give his thoughts on the Mike Conley Jr. Classic and just being an impact player and being a star, of course, for the Fayetteville product. But for now, live outside the FedEx Forum here in Memphis, Tennessee, Ben Creighton, Fox 16 Sports.
A lot of folks rooting for Mike Conley and the Grizz. Thanks a lot, Ben. We'll see you tonight. Also coming up tonight at 9, we'll check on Game 1 of the Arkansas Ole Miss series at Baum Stadium. We'll see you at 9.
This weekend.
We continue to follow breaking news on several fronts across central Arkansas at this hour. In Little Rock, one person is dead following a drive-by shooting on Park Lane. The victim, a 57-year-old caretaker at an in-home daycare. Police do not believe that victim was the shooter's intended target. At this hour, investigators are still looking for the gunman in that case. In Polk County, investigators say the mother of two missing children has been found dead, and they believe she was murdered. 10-year-old Riley Scarborough and 2-year-old Aislinn Wester were reported missing on Wednesday. Their mother's body found on Tuesday and positively identified today. And of course, in Lincoln County, we're about an hour away from the scheduled execution of Kenneth Williams, a convicted murderer who's sat on death row for the last 17 years. We'll continue to follow it. Be sure to join us on Facebook Live beginning at 6:30.